Hello and welcome to Mobile Technology Spotlight, sponsored by Samsung and proudly presented by Public Safety Insight. From AI-powered situational awareness to rugged devices built for the field, Samsung is transforming law enforcement and how it stays connected and protected. Today, we're getting the inside story on 2025's biggest wins and what's coming in 2026. I'm Dale Stockton, and joining me today is Keith Redlin. Keith is the director for public sector for Samsung, and he's someone that we work with frequently, has done some really great things. He's also got some practitioner experience. So why don't we start off, Keith, by a little intro. Tell us about yourself.
Oh, okay. Thanks. And by the way, I've been looking really forward to this all year as we get to kind of reflect on the great stuff that we've done, not only together, Dale and Scott, but really what Samsung's done out in the field. So by way of introduction, Keith Redlin, about 7.5 years with Samsung, leading public sector, public safety, I guess you can call it guns and hoses. I have a lot of fun with that. But really, my mission is to make sure that we're driving a team of professionals leaning into public safety and public sector solutions, specifically targeted around mobile first strategy. It's something that we're, seeing more and more often from small to large agencies. A little bit about my practitioner side, reserve deputy with the Oakland County Sheriff Department here just outside of Detroit, Michigan. I wear many hats in that agency, primarily IT technology division, leaning into new technology and software services there, which aligns really nicely to this role. But recently, I have stepped into the aviation role as a tactical flight officer with our air unit. And I got to tell you, it's like a dream spot for me. So having the coolest job in the private sector as well as the public sector, I don't even, it's hard to even keep me at home these days because I'm just wanting to be on the road as well as be in the chopper.
I get it. I've got to tell you, your practitioner side has really benefited public safety in the sense that, unlike most vendors, you've actually used this stuff. You know the applicability in the field. So looking back on 2025, we had an opportunity to work with you guys. Samsung's such a thought leader with webinars and presentations at national conferences. What are some of the highlights that you'd like to hit on for 25?
Just looking back, if I look at just the business for us, I would say that our relaunch of our focus around public safety was one of the, I think, highlights or the lighthouse moments this year. It was creating new material, talking to new partners, redoing our public safety website to allow our customers and prospects and partners to navigate easier, how to get in touch with us, and some of our stories along the way as well. There's so many other highlights, Dale, I can go into. We expanded our footprint to include 7 out of the top 10 of the largest agencies now have chosen Samsung. So I won't name them individually, but from the sheer size of scope of what these agencies offer, from police, sheriff, as well as corrections, Samsung is their chosen brand to go within the mobile space. We have 36% market share across the top 50 agencies in sheer terms of size of those agencies. Our solutions team and business development team really they've hit, I would say, multiple home runs this year. They really lead the way and allow us to have something new to talk about when it comes to public sector or public safety. I mean, I think that the true measurement of what we're doing is staying relevant about every 6 months, because there's been a lot of new things that come out. Looking back on some proud moments, Dale, it has to be, our advisory council that we work so closely together on. That was one that I really enjoy. The opportunity to bring people together and to collaborate is the essence, in my mind, what public safety is all about. And we offer this platform allowing leaders and thought leaders to come in and talk about what technology they're doing, what challenges they may have. And then we also get the opportunity to bring in some really cool guest speakers from around the space. And they're not just in California, they're in Florida, they're in Texas, and all over the country. And what I love about it is just the feedback. We had a lot of fun early on this year with the release of our Chicago police use case video that was talking about the use of DEX and NOx just that video alone has reached over 1 million impressions globally through Samsung's tracking. So that one has just gone crazy, and it's become the new gold standard in Samsung of saying, this is what a customer and partner use case should actually look like. So we had a lot of fun. I mean, really, we're looking back 2025, it's going to be hard to top it, but we're already setting our minds and our eyes on 2026.
That's great, Keith. Let's go rewind just a bit because you mentioned specifically Chicago, and I've watched this one unfold over the years. It truly is a testament to a whole new paradigm in public safety technology. Could you just give like a high level overview of what it is they're doing that really just makes this a standout?
Yeah, so about 5 or 6 years ago, Chicago PD challenged us, and they said, "Hey, listen, we have this vision of going mobile first, and essentially we wanted to cut our rugged laptops in our car. We want to remove those and give the mobile technology an opportunity to shine and to become their one compute." And really what that means is every single police officer in the city of Chicago, when you start that academy process, you're issued a weapon, you're issued your gun belt, but you're also issued a mobile device by Samsung that has your application stack on it. So through your journey, even through your academy, you're starting to learn what your core apps are and starting to learn what mobile policing looks like at the edge. And then we've gone one step further. We've removed those computers in the car and given them a resource through our partnership with Havas to dock that particular handset in the vehicle and give them that computer-like experience like that they would have if they had a ruggedized laptop in the cockpit of the car. What's really cool is that device kind of goes along with them through their journey, whether they're in the office or in the police code, like I mentioned. And Chicago is unique. They have so many different divisions, so many different areas in which they work from. You can literally be on a foot beat patrol and still have complete access to something that you wouldn't typically had if it wasn't for that mobile device. And the thought leadership that Chicago had with putting together a strategy around software being able to work on the mobile at the edge, their records management, body-worn camera, every tool that they have works on that device as it should. And it really has become, like I said, this lighthouse customer that other agencies have looked at and said, wait a second, if they can do it, we can do it too. And it's beginning to become a more of a push rather than a pull when we're starting to talk about mobile to the edge. So kudos to Dan Casey, Dennis Beligia out there in Chicagoland, and so many more leaders before them, Jonathan Lewin and Dan Sullivan. I could sit here for 10 minutes and just give accolades to those individuals, but it was a fun project. We worked on this project with them, I would say weekly. We're just making sure that we have touch base calls with them to make sure that the program is running very smoothly. And that's what we do in a partnership here. We just because we sold a device and a concept, we don't bail from that. We want to lean in and continue to learn and develop, because what worked for Chicago is only going to get better for the next agency that says, hey, we want to do it too. And there's been a lot of those agencies lining up.
Excellent. Excellent. That's a great overview. And for anyone out there that thinks that it's limited to just big agencies, actually, another one of our advisory council members, Sheriff Joe Colston, oversees a department of 10, and he's doing DEX also, isn't he, Keith?
Yeah, kudos to Joe. Joe's attitude was awesome. It was like, hey, if they can figure this out, so could I. And I went down there and saw Joe. I think it was middle of last year. And it just impressed me that, when I kept asking about his IT support, he was like, that's me. I'm the IT guy, and I'm the sheriff, and I can figure all this out. It was great. Literally, his department, and he actually took it one step further, and kudos to Joe out there if you're listening, is he had the device become his door unlock key. So from a security standpoint, his deputies cannot gain access to the station or jail or evidence locker without using their mobile device and two-factor authentication. It drives utilization on the device. And so the near-field communication chipset in our handsets became the door key for that agency. And you have to be in possession of that device, know the password, at least at a minimum dual authentication to even gain access. And it's a great level of accountability. So kudos to him from taking it to the next level.
Yeah, that's great. And I love the fact from the smallest to the largest, you're making it work. They're making it work. So let's transition to officer safety and operational capabilities. I know those are big priorities for public safety, and it's been shown again and again they're important at Samsung. So hit on some of the innovation and officer safety aspects that show up in Samsung hardware.
Okay, so a few things, right? So from an officer safety standpoint, we've been really leaning into there's this big push around wellness, right? So in this particular profession, public sector has its fair share of grief and challenges, mental challenges, but we've been able to kind of, and introduce wellness through wearables. We've been able to talk to partners that have created wellness applications so they're able to use their mobile in a more peer-to-peer approach, gaining access to those individuals from an agency that wants to be a peer advisor or peer support leader. We thought those use cases that came out were really insightful. Also, from a more tactical side, having a mobile device in your pocket has created this tactical, I would say, operation picture, right? So there's been applications like ATAC that have really taken situational awareness to I call it the Pixar effect, where it's more than just dots on a map. It is an entire 360-degree, almost 4D immersive experience around how you're using mobile at the edge and allowing your simple smartphone to become a beacon, and then to become a tool to plan and coordinate, to become a tool to broadcast video. The officer safety side of that is so incredible that we're no longer, for instance, tracking vehicles. We're tracking dogs. We're tracking people. Human resources are absolutely the most important resource to any agency or any organization, period. But now you're able to see those human resources real time, be able to collaborate with them, even if the radio is down or if you're in a service denied area. Things like Starlink and other type of satellite tertiary networks have really come into play to allow agencies to say, wait a second, our mobile phone has possibly become the most critical safety tool in our arsenal. Part of your PPE, as a matter of fact, right? So it's really unique seeing different agencies talk about it. And as a matter of fact, and just a little shameless plug here now that we're talking about it, in 2 days, one of our advisors, Jared Vanderhoevel from Texas DPS, and one of our own, Amos Halava, also a retired lieutenant with the sheriff office, is going to be having a conversation and a webinar about how ATAC was used during a horrible tragedy in Texas, Camp Mystic flood tragedy that happened in July 4th. So, safety is one of those areas where something as simple as a mobile device that your agency is already paying for, if you just turn on the full capabilities and have those conversations with your officer teams, it becomes a force multiplier, in my opinion.
Well said. Well said. And before we move off officer safety, I want to acknowledge just how Samsung has helped get the word out there through webinars and podcasts. We had in-depth interview with Britt Sweeney from Seattle PD, with Katie Lawson from Oklahoma City PD, and then in terms of recruitment, retention, Colin Whittington. These are all available on our YouTube channel for those that are interested. But it underscores just how committed Samsung is to being a thought leader and sharing those things to improve the workspace for public safety. So thank you for that. As we look forward to 26, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff that happened in 25, but how about some preview of what we can expect going into the new year?
Yeah, and, I'm energized for 2026. Like I said, it's hard to beat 25, and I said that back in 24, and 25 was a rocket ship to the moon. So many cool things happened, but in 2026, here's what I predict, and some of the cool things that we're doing. I'll just kind of share here to this restricted, open air audience. Taking TAC to new agencies, guiding them on how to use and deploy the tool is going to be something that we're seeing already. Agencies raise their hand and say, we need to learn this. As an example, Samsung is a proud sponsor and one of the anchoring sponsors of the Olympics that are coming to the United States. And we already have team members attached to that unit to start talking about how can the SoCal region use TAC as a tool to bring everybody on a common operating picture for that particular event. TAC is used not just at big events, but small events. So we're excited to have those conversations, and we have a team assigned to that. Bringing that the operating platform to life is huge because it actually complements well also another key component of Samsung, and that's our professional display team. Many agencies now are leaning into real-time crime centers. I had the opportunity. Samsung supports the National Real-Time Crime Center Association. I've spent some time with some of the biggest and brightest agencies, Spokane being one of them. I've spent time, actually last week I was in Beverly Hills, California, and kudos to Eugene Kim and what he's doing to that particular center, as well as Art Thompson, the city of Detroit. Talk about a crime center that's right on the border of Canada and was built around using public-private video. I think real-time crime center is going to be the next coolest thing that we're going to start to see evolve. We're mobile at the edge, so your mobile devices is just going to become that tool that feeds into the crime center. Last but not least, standalone wearables. You're going to see more and more wearable development, and this really cool this thing going on right now called XR. This is our Samsung XR is virtual augmented reality goggles that you would wear. And essentially imagine that, I mean, everybody listening to this will probably relate to this. You walked into a PSAP center, a 911 center, and you see those dispatchers with, 5 or 6 stacked video monitors on top of a desk, their heads going left and right, trying to multitask like way better than any patrol officer or deputy could. And imagine wearing a goggle and having all those feeds coming right into your headset and just be able to use your hands to navigate that. It's something that we had the opportunity to demo, and I think that's going to be pretty cool. And last but not least is AI. AI is still so immature, but constantly developing. It's nice to see some of the biggest partners and law enforcement brands out there leaning into AI and hearing what other agencies are starting to use. So it's not such a scary term in public sector anymore. It's kind of it's a caution but optimistic conversation, and we're starting to see it really bubble up. So I think 2026 is going to be really fun to start off the year.
Those are great examples. And you mentioned AI. One of the areas that doesn't get enough attention, in my opinion, is the language translation capability, real time, that Samsung's made possible now at virtually no additional cost once you have the hardware for agencies in the field. You want to talk on that for just a moment?
I call it AI 1.0, right? When AI 1.0 came out last year for us on our platform, it was really about doing some kind of consumer things, right? So as you mentioned, Dale, it's how can you use your mobile device to be a real bilateral communication device for someone who doesn't speak maybe English at the scene, instead of dialing a translation service or spending money per minute on a translation service, or even finding an officer to hire that speaks certain languages predominantly in your community. We're a nation right now that doesn't have a whole lot of borders when it comes to our language, right? So we allow so many different cultures that we come in contact with. Having a mobile device that real-time live translates, not only on the device, but on our earbuds. I can literally put earbuds in my head and open up the channel, and it'll actually start to translate for me, almost like you would if you're at the Geneva conference or some big summit where there's multiple foreign leaders. It starts to translate in the language in which I choose based on what it hears. That is so cool. I'm telling you right now, I work for, Samsung's no secret, right? We're a very Korean company, and sitting with my colleagues, listening to them speak native Korean, allowing me to listen to them naturally and have a dialogue is really kind of cool, and it breaks down some cool barriers. But that's a cool one. Circle to search. I've seen a lot of officers. As a matter of fact, I had a personal situation where something happened at my residence, and the local police came out, and we were trying to identify the car that we saw on my camera commit this crime. And he's like, hey, why don't we just take a picture of it and have Google tell us what kind of vehicle that is? And I'm like, I never even thought of that, right? So took a picture of it it was a silly moment for me because I'm like, I'm the guy that does this stuff, and I didn't even think of that. But it came out. It was a early model 2001 BMW 3 Series with aftermarket wheels. And I'm like, that does look like that. And lo and behold, about 20 minutes later, we were able to track that vehicle down at a different incident. But those are the kind of cool things that are just open to the public. You don't need to be a super detective or a police officer to use those features. Guess what? They come equipped on your mobile device today.
Yeah, those are great examples. And tech matters most when it really has impact in the field, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it frequently now. And you mentioned briefly Spokane County in terms of engagement with mobile technology and leveraging tech as a force multiplier. I know you've been up there and seen firsthand. You spent a couple days up there under Sheriff Dave Ellis. Could you hit on what you saw up there and just how applicable this is to agencies across the country?
Well, I can tell you that no one tells a story better than, Under Sheriff Ellis and Lieutenant Elliott. Both are just, industry leaders when it comes to this. And they have a unique environment, right? I mean, they have a unique demographic and geographic area. But what's cool about it is it's like one of the largest mid-sized agencies that I've ever really come in contact with, because the resources that they've been able to work with to get from their training center, which is second to none, all the way through using refurbished police cars to be a camera on wheels, to using, and if you're listening, Dave, keep me honest, I think AI in your video analytics to help officer training scenarios and situations, and to improve officer safety by doing video analytics of the body worn. I think that's so cool that you have an agency that doesn't really say no to technology. They say, interesting, let's see how that really applies to our work. And if there's a spot, let's see how that fits in. And that's a shameful plug, right, for Spokane Sheriff. And I hope that he doesn't receive, hundreds of people reaching out and say, hey, try my stuff. But I will tell you that the things that they have put together, their crime center, they're mobile to every police officer, whether you're in the Valley or for the sheriff office, even talking about putting decks in a helicopter. I mean, there's no limits to what they're starting to imagine there. And I really like it because while it may be 1 or 2 or 3 units here, it starts to shape use cases that other agencies may say, hey, they figured it out. And I have not heard one police department, whether it be Sheriff Joe Colston or Jared down in Dallas, or I'm sorry, state of Texas, that says, hey, we won't have a conversation with you. They want to have these conversations because they're kind of in this space right now where they're trying to figure the mobile out, and the practicality of it continues to grow. It's not slowing down. There's more and more being demanded from the mobile side.
You're absolutely right. And those people that you highlighted, it's worth noting they're on the advisory council, which it's the ultimate voice of customer and their experiences they're sharing. Samsung working collaboratively with them. It's making mobile tech better for public safety across the country. So thank you for that. You mentioned Spokane County and you gave a great description. One thing I'd like to emphasize, because I've had so many interactions with them and been so impressed by this. They really push the information out to the edge and they make it accessible. It's not one way. It's accessible from the field. So any officer, and that's all of them, all the deputies, the officers in Spokane Valley, have Samsung devices and they can access any one of the camera feeds coming in. There's hundreds of them that come into the real-time crime center. That's just incredible. They just open that up and make it actionable. So let's look a little farther down the line towards the future and building more partnerships and just doing even more things. What do you think Samsung's efforts are going to be long term to ensure this ongoing trusted partnership with law enforcement?
Well, as I mentioned, we're in our 7th year of just being laser focused on this particular segment, right? So when you're committed to develop a team, bringing in practitioner experience, like you mentioned on our advisory board, or those who work on my team that have practitioner experience, It's really exciting to see what 2026 is, the outcomes are going to be. This is our 5th year of actually hosting the Samsung Law Enforcement Advisory Board. We're excited to extend that next year and even bring different talent into that voice of customer panel, whether it's with fire or other parts of the public sector service. It's a different perspective, and we're really exploring what more conversations can we have. Out of the gate in 2026, right away, I can just tell you, I'm going to be speaking at the SHOT Show, at IWCE, National Sheriff, IACP Tech. That's like 4. Talking to my wife, she's like, "You got to be kidding me. You're going to Vegas twice." And then all these others. But listen, I'm energized about it because it's getting back on stage with industry leaders like Jared and Dave Ellis and others to talk about really what's happening now, real-time use case scenarios. 2025 also was our inaugural year of our Protect and Serve newsletter. It's a quarterly newsletter that actually our solutions engineer, Remington Steele, and Amos Holliva puts together. This is not about sales. It's not about customer wins necessarily. It really is about industry knowledge base of Samsung, of tips and tricks on how to use Samsung devices in law enforcement. It's about CJIS. It's about maybe a new device that we just launched. And guess what? We have over 20,000 people that have subscribed to receive this Protect and Serve newsletter. And so we're excited about that. We're going to continue that in 2026. Talk about commitment to the industry. I'm bringing on another headcount, right? So I'm after this call today, I'll be interviewing one more candidate to bring on and grow our presence in the central region of the United States. So think about that, Louisiana all the way up to Minneapolis, Minnesota region, the kind of like the Mississippi Delta Belt. We're excited about bringing on a laser focus in that territory as well. Huge thank you to not only our customers for leading up to this, but also our partners. We could not do this if it wasn't for the partners that are innovating and pushing us to innovate, and our customers demanding those software and hardware partners to continue to innovate. Because you may hear it from Keith, because I may be one-dimensional around what can Samsung do for you, but Samsung can only do one thing, and that's the device that brings all of your data, all of your apps into one pane of glass. But we couldn't do this without our software and hardware providers that bring that full experience to a 360-degree full experience for the end user. So kudos to them. Thank you so much. And then to our carrier and IT channel partners, right? We need a place to buy all of this stuff. You can't buy anything directly from Samsung necessarily. So we have to make sure that our partners like T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T FirstNet are all, along this journey with us. So they understand what we're doing. It's so important because they have hundreds of salespeople out there talking about these solutions. And I only have a few people that can touch and make a difference, but those few have really done a yeoman's job in making sure our mission is clear. So, yeah, 2026 is going to be awesome, and our commitment to this industry is continuing to grow.
That's great. That's great. You mentioned those conferences that you're speaking at, and I just want to recognize something that I think is somewhat unique with Samsung. When you guys go to a conference and you present like that, it's not about sales, because you partner up with a practitioner that tells their story, and you're really there just pretty much explaining the tech side of what the partner's now been able to do because of the technology. So thank you for that, for not pushing sales and really making it practical and usable for the end user.
Yeah. I'll tell you, bottom line, obviously we're a for-profit company, but I'll tell you, I learned so much from the interaction of the crowd. Public safety professionals are not shy individuals. They will challenge you. They will ask you tough questions. They'll even give you some nice wiffle ball questions where you can hit home runs sometimes. But we all learn from those at these events, and it's actually fun. It's insightful. And while we may not always have the answer, we definitely can take that back and build a project around it. So I encourage participation when our listeners or you're at one of those conferences, because those speakers are also in a learning mode as well.
That's great. Well, let's bring this to a close. You mentioned an update of the website. I know you can get a lot of information there for those interested. Samsung.com/public safety will get you in the front door. And as Keith said, lots of conferences coming up. Check the agenda to see if Samsung's there. They welcome you to their booth. And Keith, as we close out 25, I want to thank you for making the Mobile Technology Spotlight possible. We've learned so much. We've had a good time talking to these guests, and I appreciate you sharing your time with us today. Any closing thoughts?
Just a teaser. I'm throwing this out here so that the audience, your listening audience, can challenge me. This next year, we are bringing on, and I'm not going to tell you who, but we are going to bring on new talent into our advisory council. I promise that. We're also going to be taking a major sheriff office on this journey with DEX next year. We're going to take a major state patrol agency on the journey with DEX. We're already doing a major port authority already underway with DEX deployment. And then of that, the halo effect that we get from those successful pilots and those successful programs is already having conversations with Health and Human Services, parks, housing, transportation, and so many more agencies that the states and counties and cities support. So thank you to those sheriff agencies, state patrol agencies, and Port Authority agency that we've been working with. I don't want to release their names because it's one of those things I haven't gotten permission yet for, but I will tell you, I'm excited about having those conversations. And actually, we're already seeing the orders come in where they need these services because they're testing them and they're going live. So yeah, we're stoked. You're welcome, by the way. We appreciate your partnership as well. Your audience has been fantastic. And I just think that we're going to just level up 2026 to a new level that I don't think we've been at, Dale. So thanks for coming along this ride and commitment, you and Scott, on this as well.
It's been an honor. It's been an honor. So thank you for your time, Keith. I know you've got some pressing interviews ahead of you today. Good luck with those. And to the audience, today's episode of Mobile Technology Spotlight is sponsored by Samsung and presented by Public Safety Insight. Stay safe out there, folks.